What do we have now? Our next segment is another book report.
Oh,
I've been continuing to read books, so I read Star Wars Aftermath Empire's End.
and okay, this
This
is
is
the
the
last one of
Yeah, this
that
is the third part
trilogy.
of that trilogy. Now I did enjoy this book.
Yes.
It was quite good. It was definitely the weakest of the three, though. And here's why: is because you know how you're not too crazy about Phantom Menace because you got all those
Yeah.
Senate hearings and the speeches
The
and
blockade and
the
Senate.
blockade. What
Yeah,
are we going to do? It's perfectly
I hate
legal.
the government stuff. I think it's so boring.
There's too much of this political stuff, and Mon Mothma's in it more.
Maybe people like that, but I don't like political stuff.
It's not really political subterfuge like you would get in Jack Ryan or anything.
Yeah.
You get all the main characters back from this ragtag team. You get the leader, the pilot Nora Wexley. Her son Temin is in it. He's like 16 or 17 now. I don't know.
She was the character.
You got the bounty hunter Jazz Amiri. You got the ex-Imperial loyalty officer Singer. He's got some long name there. And he's the most interesting character, as I've said before. But then in this one, he's not that interesting because he's hanging out with the Senate and the Chancellor, and he's doing stuff for her on this. No. Actually, yes, he is. So.
That's the only interesting thing about the Senate is that he became a senator. That's the only thing.
He's not a senator anymore. So, as I've mentioned before, there's all these interludes, and it's the story's going along, and every once in a while we're paused. It's elsewhere in the galaxy. Here's what's happening, right? With maybe a character but usually it's characters we don't know. Well, there is a story about Jar Jar in this, and it's kind of a sad story about what happens to him because this is after the Empire.
Yeah,
so Jar Jar's still alive. So you want to know what happens to him afterwards?
Is this canon?
Yeah, this is canon.
What happens to him?
So far it's canon unless they decide it's not.
Your mother's going to cry in a minute. Okay.
She doesn't watch this. Jar Jar has, because he's no longer a senator on Naboo.
Right.
He still lives on Naboo in Theed, but he's homeless.
Homeless because he's not accepted by his people.
He's not accepted by anyone.
Oh.
Like he's kicked out of the Gungan city.
Yeah,
we know that.
He's too clumsy for them.
He's not accepted by any of the Naboo there in Theed or anywhere else. So he's just a random street performer, and he performs for these orphan kids just to give them some happiness because their lives are kind of crummy.
But he doesn't have any money or food.
No one will give him money. No one will talk to him. No one wants anything to do with him.
Jeez.
And so, that's a bit of a downer there.
Should have stayed on Coruscant at least. That's the problem with the government in Star Wars. I was just thinking about that. They have no parliament and cabinet and Senate. They just have the Senate. That's not a very functioning government. I think that was a problem right from the get-go. All they have is this one body, right? They don't have any checks and balances, and I think that's probably a fault on their part.
I don't want to talk about political stuff in the Star Wars universe. We get another story on Tatooine because we always have to go to Tatooine. This one's about.
Oh, it's so exciting, Tatooine. With
this
all
one's about
desert.
Cobb Vanth. Remember him from The Mandalorian?
Which guy was he?
That was the marshal in Freetown.
Oh, the marshal
played by
guy.
Timothy Oliphant.
Yeah.
So we get a nice story about him.
Okay. Well, I'm really sad about Jar Jar. Well, he doesn't die in it, does he? He's not dead yet.
No, he's not dead.
He could go on another adventure. He could be. You never know.
But no
he could
one
just be in the street and some very exciting person comes by and says, we're going on an adventure.
Or Darth Vader will show up and be like, that's it, you're dead, buddy. And just slice him in two. So
I hope not. Well, he's not dead. That's good.
Okay, the main story, though, with the main characters, it's not as exciting as the last one.
Yeah.
But it's still an enjoyable read, right? I just didn't enjoy all the political stuff, and, there's constantly attempts on the Chancellor's life, and she almost dies numerous times throughout this series.
That on the other guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, apparently, I think they did, but we don't see a lot of it.
Right, we never saw that in the back. What was going on?
And there's a lot of remnants
lightning bolts going through
of the Empire. One of Palpatine's lackeys, Maz Amida, has to sign a surrender for the Empire.
Oh.
So this book is mostly about the Battle of Jakku, which we get hints of in The Force
right,
Awakens.
We see all the crashed ships. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a neat way to start it.
So if you want to find out more about the Battle of Jakku,
that's one of the ships that she was going through.
Yeah, that's one of the Star Destroyers.
Yeah,
but there's also a Super
parts.
Star Destroyer that goes down. I think that's what she was scavenging
Yeah, because
from.
that was massive. I love the scale of that in that movie. I love showing the scale of that, and I think that was a very clever idea.
This one's quite interesting. I mean, because they're on Jakku for a lot of it. There's a hut there. Of course, there's a hut there.
There's a hut everywhere, isn't there?
This one's different. Well, on all these.
How many huts are there? We've learned about quite a few of them.
There's a lot of them.
Oh.
Okay, and apparently you're not supposed. For some reason, you're not supposed to do anything to them. Like you can't kill them or anything.
Like
I don't know why.
Endangered species, I would say, because there's no huts just roaming about the streets.
No, they don't seem very capable. Sentient
They are a
beings.
bit of a mafia.
But anyway, apparently
this
this hut, I can't remember her name, but she's not fat like the other ones. She's like slimmed
like
down,
a worm?
and she's a muscular worm that'll like take on everyone.
I'd love to see that on film.
Yeah, that would be interesting instead of the fat ones that get carried around by their slaves. Like
yeah,
we've
well,
seen.
they're like big caterpillars. I mean, I do like caterpillars, but the huts aren't very glamorous.
So in terms of learning more about the Star Wars canon and going really deep into it, like this was good, and I give this a best book ever.
I think you could write a book now yourself.
Me?
At this point, yeah, with all this stuff just do it for fun. I think you really could.
Fan fiction.
Yeah, you could do some fan fiction.
I'm too busy trying to produce this show and read and going through more content, including reading these books, and I've already started my next one. It's Star Wars Thrawn.
Oh yeah,
by Timothy Zahn.
Yeah, we don't know much about Thrawn, but he's definitely coming up in Ahsoka.
Yeah, and we saw him in Rebels in a bunch of episodes. He's a character from the expanded universe, which is no longer canon. It's now called Legends, but they brought him back for Rebels, so because Rebels is canon. Rebels is canon, and so are these new books.
Confusing, isn't it?
So I'm interested in learning about this because this timeline, I think it's a trilogy of books, these Thrawn books, and they're in between Solo and original recipe Star Wars, A New Hope, from 77.
Like 10 years.
I don't know exactly. I just started the book. I read the first chapter.
So before the one with when they blow up the place, before that film.
Rogue One?
Rogue One, yeah.
Well, Rogue One and Solo are kind of around the same time.
Well, it's...
Okay, because Rogue One leads right into Episode 4.
Yeah, Rogue One leads it, so it's just before that.
Okay. So,
say.
Anyway, Star Wars Aftermath, Empire's End. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I recommend if you're really into Star Wars and you want to learn more about it, check this book out. I give it a best book ever. Let me know your thoughts on it. If you've read any of the new Star Wars canon or any of the old ones, if there's any good ones or any bad ones, let me know down in the comments below. Love to hear about that. You can leave us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this segment. I don't think a lot of people are watching our book segments, but I enjoy doing them.